Hello, everybody. Welcome to the GM Sports Report, your weekly podcast on all things sports where every play counts. I'm Grant, and I'm here with my co host Mason as we get ready to cover the latest news, headlines, and upcoming events going on in the sports world. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to see all things GM Sports Report. Mason, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Grant. How are you?
I'm doing all right. It's been a little rough week for me in the
Mm-hmm.
sports world, but that's all right.
I
It's
hear
it,
you.
it's life is good. That's all. We're about to talk sports, so can't
Yes,
complain
yes.
too much. All right, so we're going to head straight into our NFL game prediction update that we give every week where we predict our games. For those of you who don't know, we post our weekly picks every week on our Instagram and TikTok at GM Sports Report. So make sure to follow that to see our predictions. Right now, Mason has caught up and we are tied with a record of 35 and 29. So that is our records right now. Like I said, be sure to
Comeback of
follow
the
so you can see our
century.
records. It was a pretty big comeback over these last 2 weeks. I was up on you pretty big. I need to start locking in
Yep.
and pull back ahead, but we're tied right now
I
with
need
a
to start
35 and 29 record. What
I
was
need to
that?
start putting some money on it. I need to start putting some money.
Whoa, whoa. I don't know about all that
No,
now.
no, not for you. Not with you. Not with you.
Oh, gotcha. All right.
Just in
All right,
general. Just in
so
general.
okay, gotcha. All right, so the next thing we're gonna hop into is our hot takes of the week. We like to do this at the start of every episode. Mason, what is your hottest take of the week right now?
So my hottest take is the Detroit Tigers beat the Houston Astros. Give something
Okay,
give
explain,
something
explain.
for I don't know what it is. It's just a little hunch, and I hate the Astros as a Yankees fan, so um
Right.
I'd love to see it happen. So that's kind of why it's my hot take. Detroit
I
fans are
also
feeling good
hope.
with
Yeah,
Detroit fans
they
are
are.
feeling good with football going on, so might as well make it into baseball playoffs.
I also hope that Detroit beats Houston. I don't think it will happen because Houston always seems to make it far every year for the past like 8 years now. So as much as I would like to see Detroit win, I don't know if that's going to happen. But my hot take of the week is I don't know if this is a hot take for like real NFL fans, but for like the basic NFL fans, this might be a hot take. I think that the Chiefs are not as good as their record shows, and I can even see
Mm,
them losing early on in the playoffs. They just don't look like a 4-0 team, if that makes any sense. I mean, Travis Kelsey is not that good this year. He's looking like he's starting to slow down. Pacheco's been injured, and obviously last week we saw Patrick Mahomes take out his best receiver and Rashae Rice. Looks like a torn ACL. Looks like he might be out for the year, so that's unfortunate, losing your number one option. And Mahomes himself just doesn't look very Mahomey. He looks like he's off to a slow
oh
start.
my gosh.
A lot of turnovers early on, and they just are squeaking by in their wins. It doesn't feel like they're going in and dominating these teams. It feels like they're just kind of getting by, you know? And I don't know.
Yeah.
To me, it just feels like they're not like some Super Bowl contender team that they've been the last few years, but that's just my hot take.
So I have a question off of that.
Okay.
We also kind of saw the clip on Mahomes going for the tackle after the
hmm
interception. May I add?
Yeah. After
Um,
his interception. Yeah.
yes, correct. So we all see Rasheed Rice going after him. Do you think Mahomes should have gone in for the tackle the way he did?
No, I don't think so.
You
Because
know,
I feel like Rashae Rice was catching up to him and he even stripped him. Like he stripped him.
he
He was
he, he
making
knocked
the
the ball
tackle.
out. He
I
knocked the
think you
ball
just need to
out.
stay out of the way. Like, just stay out of the way. I get your he was probably a heat of the moment thing. He's frustrated. I just threw a pick.
Right.
I'm gonna go try to
Right.
make this play. But I think you gotta be smarter than that because now look, you're without your number one option on offense now.
It was
You're
very
without two of your
reckless.
biggest
So
weapons now because you lost Pacheco early on, and now you're losing your best
right.
receiver. So it's looking
Well,
rough for them. I feel like
now
go
he's
ahead.
got Worthy and Schuster. I mean, that's all I
Right,
can name out of
exactly.
those
And
that
Worthy's
receiving
really
core.
good, but yeah.
Yes, don't get me wrong, but to have to put all of your trust on a rookie, there's going to be rookie mistakes. So, well,
Yeah.
hopefully that just delays over the time. But can't rely on Kelsey right now. Obviously, he had a great game against the Chargers. He's the Charger killer, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, we'll see. That's my hot take of the week. Next, we're going to go into another segment we like doing a lot where we highlight our underdogs of the week, people that don't get talked about as much. Mason, who is your underdog of the week this week?
My underdog of the week is good old reliable Joe Flacco. came in
I like
for
it.
Anthony Richardson. Went 16 for 26, 168 yards and 2 touchdowns, no turnovers. So, um, I saw a clip of saying Joe Flacco was supposedly calm and had no pressure, but he made a very good remark saying that the whole time he was nervous, but it's just funny to see a old veteran like he is, still getting the pressure and just being able to deliver under it. So I think it's awesome how we get our yearly little taste of Joe Flacco and
Right.
just comes out and delivers.
Just a yearly reminder that Joe Flacco still got it.
Right.
All right. My underdog of the week is gonna go to who I think is the best wide receiver in football right now, Nico Collins. This guy has been off to an insane start. A lot of people didn't know what he'd be like with Stephon Diggs coming in, with Tank Dell going into his second year, and this man has just proven that he is the wide receiver one over there, and he's the wide receiver one in football right now. This man
Right.
last week had 12 receptions for 151 yards and a touchdown. This season,
Mm.
he has 30 receptions, which is second, 489 yards, which is first, and he has 2 touchdowns. This man is absolutely balling. I love to see it. I like the Texans. I think they're a fun team, and I think that he has proven to everyone that Stephon Diggs, no Stephon Diggs, I'm still a wide receiver one,
Yep.
and that's something
Yep.
I like to see. So that's my underdog of the week is. What we're going to do next is go into our news segment that we always like to do, break down the latest news. We're going to start with the NFL. What we like to do every week is sort of give our 3 takeaways from week 4. Mason, what are your 3 takeaways from this last week of football?
So my 2 of my 3 takeaways came from the Seahawks versus Detroit game last night, and
Oh, interesting.
let me tell you, Jared Goff was on one last night. Uh,
He sure was.
100% completion percentage, which the it's blew my mind away.
It's
18 for
crazy.
18, 292 yards and 2 touchdowns. So it wasn't like it was perfect and just, maybe like 6, 7 passes. No, it was 18 passes for almost 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he just
Insane.
Detroit, like I said, Detroit is on a roll. And
Hmm.
on the contrary, on the other side, the other offense actually, Kenneth Walker, 12 carries for 80 yards and 3 touchdowns. Oh my
Insane.
goodness. He
That was the game
I'm,
last
I'm
night.
glad it was an amazing game. If I went against anybody else in fantasy other than Tommy, the absolute lion lover, I would have probably won, but he had half of the Detroit roster, half of the Detroit offense on that team. So there's nothing I could have done. And my final takeaway was I don't think many people really watched this game, but the Broncos beating the Jets had to have been one of the
Mm,
worst games of the season so far.
mm.
There was no great stat line on either side of the offensive ball or defensive ball.
Nope.
Defense was good enough to, let the score be what it was, but for the Jets to get absolutely no touchdowns, 3 field goals, and lose to the Broncos, mind you, with
Brutal.
rookie Bo Nix losing 10-9, and I feel bad for every single fan of the New York Jets that went out to MetLife Stadium in the rain, in the cold, in the wind to watch their team lose. So those are my 3
That's some
takeaways.
Those are some pretty good takeaways, I have to say. As a Dolphins fan, I wish I tuned into that Detroit Seahawks game live instead of watching
Yeah.
that painful game last night. My 3 takeaways. I'm going to start with this one that's kind of like goes for the NFL as a whole. I feel like my biggest takeaway right now is that the NFL just seems wide open this year. Like I feel like it's anyone's
Oh my
game. You
gosh.
know,
Yes.
it doesn't feel like, yeah, there's a couple of favorites, and like the Ravens look like they're turning it on. The Chiefs are undefeated or whatever. But like I said, I don't think that their record shows how good
Right.
like how good or bad they actually are. I just feel like the NFL is so wide open right now. There's no clear cut favorite. It's really anyone's game. If you're just like it really feels like it's up for the taking right now. We'll see if that changes within the next few weeks, but that's my biggest takeaway right now is that the NFL is wide open.
Mhm.
Now, my number 2 takeaway is what I was just talking about. The Ravens seem to have figured out their offense, and if that is how they
Oh,
play
yes.
how they played against Buffalo is how they play every week from here on out. Good luck to any AFC team trying to compete with that because that was
Right.
an absolute dominant performance by the Ravens there. Great rushing, good passing, just an insane game going into Buffalo, or not going into Buffalo, but playing Buffalo, who is undefeated. And, everyone's been hyping up Josh Allen and stuff, which, look, that's another thing I can talk about is, look, the Bills can look as good as they want when they're beating up on bad teams, but they just played a real team and got absolutely smoked. So that's something to watch out for.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Ravens figured out their offense, and they're looking pretty scary and as good as they were advertised coming into the season. So that's something to
And
watch out
35,
for.
35-10, it didn't even do the justice. The score didn't do the justice
Mm,
of how dominant the Ravens really were against the Bills. They had
right.
everything going. Yeah, I
Everything.
think I think
They
that's a
can do
great
whatever they
takeaway
want.
right there.
And their
Yes,
defense looked
yes.
great too. Now, mind you, they did a
Oh yeah.
great job of playing defense. They made Josh Allen look very human in that game.
This was
Um,
one of the first weeks that I saw Derrick Henry was like, okay, I'm comfortable, I'm ready to go.
right.
And that showed
Right.
on the first play of
Exactly.
offense, which is
Yep.
terrifying.
Right. All right. And then my third and final takeaway is kind of funny because you also had this as one of your takeaways in a way. I said that the Jets are starting to look fraudulent.
Mm.
They lost to the Broncos 10-9, as we just said. Bo Nix only threw for 60 yards.
That's what I'm
Okay. Like,
saying.
how do you lose when a quarterback only throws for 60 yards? But that it's beyond that loss to the Broncos. It's beyond that to me because you look at Breece Hall. Breece Hall has not looked that good so far, and it looks like they're actually doing a split backfield with Braylon
Yes.
Allen.
Yep.
So Breece Hall hasn't looked like as dominant as he's looked in the past. Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson, for whatever reason, cannot seem to find a connection or like a chemistry to work with each other. I know this better than anyone as I have him as my first round pick in fantasy. And it's just brutal watching him put up 7 fantasy points every week when you have Aaron Rodgers that's supposed to be throwing you the
Yeah.
ball. Everyone was saying how big of a jump he was. I said he was supposed to have a huge jump, and they
Oh
just
yeah,
can't
I
seem
did
to find
too.
a connection. So yeah, and another thing that stood out to me in that last game was Aaron Rodgers was getting hit almost every single play. Like that, like every single play he was getting hit. He was either being sacked, he was being hit after the throw. As a 40-year-old, that's probably not too ideal. So that's another thing to watch out for is if his health can sustain this season. They're just
Yep.
looking kind of like stuck in a rut right now, and to me, it's looking a little fraudulent. That's all I got to say about that. Next, I'm very excited for this. We get to hop into the NBA for the first time on this show. Starting with your New York Knicks, made a pretty blockbuster trade right before the season on the anniversary of the
Man.
Damian Lillard trade a year ago. The New York Knicks have traded away Dante DiVincenzo and Julius Randle for Karl Anthony Towns. Now, what are your thoughts on this trade as a Knicks fan?
So not only did we just let go of Randall and Devo, we let go of a first round pick as well that we got from Detroit. So we were talking about it all night when it
Oh
happened
yeah,
because don't get me like it happened at like 10:30 at night.
I was
10:30
watching the
some
Hurricanes
random
game
I
when
don't
going on. I got the
yeah, I don't even
notification.
remember what was it, Friday night? Something like that.
It's Friday
Man,
night.
it
Yep.
just yeah, so it just 10:30, you texted me and I'm like, "What in the world?" Because there were speculations of it happening, but it's a bittersweet, love and hate kinda thing. Because Randall is, like, the founding father of the new era of the New York Knicks, which it's sad to see him go, but we also kinda knew that his leave and his value was kind of impending on trying to, I guess, upgrade our roster, but no one knew it was gonna be for, a guy like Cat. And DiVincenzo, that's also bittersweet because he didn't care as much as the other three for the whole Villanova Knicks thing, but during the playoffs, he was our guy. That game two against oh no, I think it was game three. It was game two or game three against Philly in that first playoff series. He got the game winning three, and it was just it was awesome. And it's like this is our guy, like this is our own kind of Steph Curry. But all I say is they better know what they're doing in the front office to trade away these guys, and hopefully Cat can perform. That's all I'm hoping for
Mm.
is for production out of him. So We'll
Yeah.
see when it comes time, but yeah.
Just a crazy trade. I look at this trade like it has a lot of layers to it. You know what I mean? Like
Yes,
a
yes.
lot of like what ifs circulating around this trade. At the end of the day, look, you traded for a top 5, top 10 big man, one of the best shooting big men
Right.
the league has ever seen. And you knew going into the season that Mitchell Robinson wasn't going to be healthy right away. So you kind of
Yes.
needed a big man. I don't know how much of that happened and affected this trade from happening. It felt like a
Yeah.
very impulsive trade.
It did.
Um,
It did.
Now, look, on paper, the Knicks look phenomenal now with that start in 5, but when you look at that bench and the reserves right now, there's just absolutely no depth there whatsoever. I mean, you're gonna have to ask for like Deuce McBride and Precious Achiuwa to play like some
Yes.
really good basketball all season long, and I have faith in Deuce McBride, but I don't think Precious Achiuwa is really cut out for that. We'll see. I feel like they need to make some sign-ins, maybe get some minimums. They have
Yes.
Marcus Morris on a non-guaranteed. I think they need to upgrade him to a guaranteed. Um, as far as who you traded away, it's just so funny to me. This might get a lot of hate, but it's funny to me because Knicks fans hated
Oh, yeah.
Julius Randle for the
Yep.
past 2 seasons. Like, I seen videos of people tearing down his poster at MSG, stomping on it, saying to trade him, and they do it, and all of a sudden, all these fans love Julius Randle, and they're like, "Why would we ever give him up?" It's like, you guys were asking for this for the last 2 seasons. I know not I'm not saying you specifically, Mason, because I know
Yes,
you're
yes. I
actually
was about to
on the higher
clarify
end of Randall. No, I
to
know
be
you're on the
fair,
higher
it
end. I'm
was
talking about Knicks
okay.
fans in general. They were
Okay,
trashing him,
okay.
literally tearing down posters of him at MSG.
Oh,
And now
God.
all of a sudden they love him and they like they wish he was still on the team. Now, as far as losing Dante DiVincenzo, look, that's a great shooter to
Yes.
have
Yeah.
going into the
Oh
playoffs.
my god.
He was shooting at an unbelievable clip. He had the chemistry with those guys. I just hope for your sake that Carl Anthony Towns can come in and form a chemistry with
Ugh.
everyone and form it
And does
fast.
not get
It's
hurt,
kind of a
and it does
crazy
not get
trade to
hurt.
make right before the season starts because you didn't have a bad roster. You did not need to make a big move whatsoever. You
No.
had the chemistry set, and now you're making this huge trade that can affect the chemistry either in a good way or a bad way. It just feels very impulsive. It feels like when I'm playing franchise mode on NBA 2K and I'm like, let's just see if I can get the highest overall player here and not worry about any of the chemistry or whatever. And look, I hate to say it, but Carl Anthony Towns in the playoffs is not that much of an upgrade to what Julius Randle is. They're both have shown
Yeah.
struggles. And as far as the Timberwolves aspect of it goes, a lot of people are saying like I don't know what the Timberwolves were doing. I think this move actually made a lot of sense for the Timberwolves. Now, granted, I thought they needed to get rid of one of the two between Gobert and Cat. I didn't think that that was working very well, but I thought they would trade Rudy Gobert first before trading Cat,
Yeah.
who's been like the centerpiece of their franchise for the past like I don't even know how long 8-10 years he's been there and beloved by the city. That kind of caught me off guard. But look, you do get Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo, who are good players. Now you can let Anthony Edwards do whatever he wants on offense and have a like decent supporting cast around him. I think it's a move that makes sense for Minnesota a lot. Their starting lineup's going to look pretty good. They have some depth now. I think that as long as the Knicks can stay healthy, it's a great move for them too. But we all know when playoffs come around, people get banged up and the healthiest team
Yep.
wins. And if, God forbid,
Especially under
Brunson or
Tibbs.
Cat goes down,
Yeah.
yep, especially with Tibbs, if Cat goes down, if Brunson goes down, if McCall goes down, any of those guys go down, you don't have the depth to make up for it, which I would be scared of if I
It's
was a
scary.
Knicks fan. But overall, a crazy trade to see happen right before the season. And the fact it was on the 1 year anniversary of that Damian Lillard trade is also crazy. I can't wait to see how it plays out, though. We'll see. Just a, I wasn't expecting it at all. It caught me completely off guard, but
Oh my
very
gosh.
interesting to see it happen. I feel like it's got a lot of mixed reviews. So yeah, we'll see.
Yep.
We'll see how it works out. Now headed into the
I'll
next NBA topic. Um, NBA Media Day has happened, and players are now going to training camp. The Heat have just gone to the Bahamas. That's my team. They're going to do their training camp there. What are you most excited about for the upcoming season?
um I'm excited to really see who the surprise playoff team is going to be this year. I'd love to see how it all unfolds because last year I think one of the most competitive I think it was first rounds was Cleveland and Orlando, and that was exciting. They went
Hmm.
7 games, all home. So I think no one really expected Orlando to make it as far as they did, but I'd love to see another team kind of emerge out of that and see how it goes. I don't think anyone's really ruled out except for the Nets and Detroit, in my opinion. But
Right.
it'll be exciting. That I'm really excited for it to come. Honestly.
Let me tell you who that surprise team's going to be really quick. It's
Uh
gonna
oh.
be them Miami boys. We are going back to
Mm.
the Eastern Conference Finals. You heard it here first. Jimmy Butler on a contract year is gonna dominate the league. We got Buzz Cut Hero coming out, gonna be playing absolute prison ball. Has gained over 20 pounds of muscle. We got a fully healthy roster once again.
Prison
We
ball.
got some depth. I mean, Alec Burks is like our 10th man right now, and if he was on the Knicks, he'd be your sixth man. So that's just
Yes,
that's all I got to say
yes.
about that. The Heat are back, baby. And you heard it here first. The media will not tell you this because the media hates on the Heat. But I'm telling you straight up that the Heat are going to be probably fifth in the East, like they always are. They're around like the mid to late. I mean, the last 2 years they're in the play-in, but they're not going to be in the play-in this year. You heard it here first. They're going to be the fifth seed, and they're going to sneak up on everyone. And it's going to be a Heat Knicks Eastern Conference Finals, and the Heat are going to win. Anyways, what I'm looking forward to most.
Whoa. That'll be
Hang
health.
on, hang
That'll
on,
be a
hang on,
health
hang on. Let
thing.
me talk. Let me talk.
Uh,
Let me talk.
My bad.
What I'm excited for most for this upcoming season is seeing how the East plays out. And all jokes aside, the
Yes.
East is stacked this year. It always for the last like
Mhm.
however long it's been, oh, the West is the best. The West is the best. I think the East is much better this year, and I cannot wait to see how some of these teams shape out. I mean, like we said, the Knicks are at the top now. Philly made some big moves. The Celtics are always going to be at the top. You got the Miami Heat kind of keeping the same roster but adding some depth. And the Bucks, they added some good role players around Giannis and Dame. Obviously, like the Bucks are going to be towards the top two, so it's going to be very interesting to see how the East plays out, and that's what I'm most excited for this upcoming season.
Mhm.
Eastern Conference basketball is back, and I'm here for
East
it.
on top. East on
East on
top.
top. East on top. All right, next we're going to slide into some college football news. Starting with probably the biggest headline, that Georgia and Alabama game was an instant classic, just an absolutely crazy game. Bama held on to win 41-34. What are your overall thoughts on the game, Mason?
Let me tell you, I think it was it was about over a halfway in through the game. I shut it off. I'm not gonna lie.
Hmm.
Alabama was just dominating. I think there was a point where
Yeah.
it was 28-0 second quarter. It was ugly, man. Carson Beck could not get a completion to save his life. He was absolutely rushed the whole time, and
Hmm.
it was bad. It was bad football from Georgia. And I was like, I was talking to my dad. I was like, how is Kirby Smart, the head coach of Georgia, like, what do you do? Like, what can you do? And he's like, there's like, you just have to keep coaching. And I'm like, okay, that's it. That makes sense. And after I turn it off, I look on my phone and I'm like, oh my gosh, Georgia's up. And then I see the highlight of Ryan Williams, little bro, I'm called little bro,
I can't believe he's
17
only
years old.
17 years old.
Just making plays, man. Just at like natural football player. That's all I can say. And it just, it was amazing. It was an amazing game, and I wish I had it on the whole time, but I'm guilty of turning it off. And yeah, it was amazing.
I agree. Just an all-time classic college football game. Like you said, Ryan Williams was just absolutely insane. 6 receptions, 177 yards, and a touchdown, which that touchdown ended up giving them the lead late, which they would hold on to win the game. The fact that this man is 17 years old and he's like winning Alabama games is just absurd. Um, Jalen Milrow had a phenomenal game too. 27 for 33
Hmm.
for 374 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also had 16 carries and 117 yards for 2 touchdowns. And shout out to Georgia for making it a game. Carson Beck came into that second half and figured some things out. He threw for 439 yards and 3 touchdowns. Now he did have 3 interceptions, but a lot of that was in those first half struggles.
Yeah.
Just a crazy game, man. All-time classic. It's crazy because I saw something saying that Georgia, the last I can't remember how long, is 41-3, and all 3 of those losses are to Alabama, which is kind of crazy. I thought that was a cool little stat. Yeah, that's all I got to pretty much say about that. It was a great game, all-time classic college football game, if you ask me. Really memorable plays happened in that game with the Ryan Williams touchdown. A lot of people are going to remember that for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
My next thing for college football is the Miami Hurricanes improved to 5-0 after defeating Virginia Tech 38-34, but there was some late game controversy as Virginia Tech went for the Hail Mary on the last play of the game. The refs ruled it a touchdown and then later overturned it to an incomplete pass. What are your thoughts of the game and overall the final call of the game?
I think that this was the, exact example of why I would never want to be a ref a day in my life. Um, to have to make that on-field call and for him to call that, a touchdown, which I don't think that there's going to be debates all year long about it, whether or not
Oh,
it was a touchdown or not. But I think that they should have stuck with the on-field call, whatever it was, whether it was incompletion or a touchdown. Um, in this instance, he called touchdown. So I didn't see enough of, just of I didn't see enough evidence for them to have to turn it like that. And I think everybody in college football that was watching, thought the same thing. And um, even you said, wow, I can't believe they overturned it. And
right.
it was just a real head scratcher. And I don't know. It was very interesting. I was texting with you the whole time, like, man, I don't know what they're gonna call, and then see that call, and it's just wow. I was speechless. I was speechless.
Yeah. Um, yeah, that was crazy when we were texting back and forth because half our text messages were about that and the other half were about the Carl Anthony Towns trade. So just an absolutely
Ah,
crazy night in the sports
gosh.
world that night. But as far as the last play goes, I kind of have to agree with you. I feel like whatever it was ruled as, it should have standed. I am a Hurricanes fan and I'm glad they won. I think they should have called it an incomplete pass, looked at it, kept it an incomplete pass. That's pretty much all I
Right.
have to say about it because you look at the video, almost every angle, it doesn't show like a clear cut, like, oh, it was this or oh, it was that. Like it wasn't clear.
Right.
Um, to call it a touchdown and give them hope, I feel like it's just
Mhm.
absolutely crazy. And
Yeah,
I think at the end of
exactly.
the day, them being in Miami and them being an undefeated team did help sway the decision. I think those refs wanted to get out of there alive, if you ask me.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Yep.
I just don't get them ruling it a touchdown to begin with. I think they should have just ruled it an incomplete pass and let it stand as an incomplete pass. But
Yep.
nonetheless, it happened, and the Hurricanes are 5-0, and they're the best college team in Florida. That's all I got to say about that. Moving on, we're gonna go into the next college football topic. We've gotten into a good amount of the college football where we can start making a lot of these statements. Um, who is who do you enjoy watching the most this college football season?
Um, I think everyone's kind of clear cut answer is going to be either like Travis Hunter or like Cam Ward or Shadur or whatever. My favorite player to watch is Ashton Janty. He has 82 carries this season with 100 or 845 yards and 13 touchdowns, and that's through 4 weeks. Are you
It's just
kidding me?
insane. That's just insane.
Are you kidding? Like this is like Madden arcade, rookie, whatever. It's so insane to put up these kind of numbers and just like I honestly feel like it's not being talked about enough.
It's
Everyone's
not.
talking
It was
about like
just now being talked about this
Sugar,
past week.
right? And like I said, I think coming into um the college football season, like this guy, the first week he put up insane numbers and everyone kind of just went past it. And then here we are another couple weeks later, and he's putting up almost 1,000 yards in not even half the season. So it's just it's insane to me. And yeah, that's my favorite player to watch so far.
Yeah, he's putting in a real life road to glory career right now with the stats he's
Yes.
putting up.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane. Now for me, the college player I enjoy watching the most is obviously Cam Ward. 5-0. He's thrown for 1,782 yards, 18 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and a 92.7 QBR, which ranks second in college football. But it's beyond the stats. If you watch this guy play football, he is so poised and so calm and so good with his decision making. Nothing ever, the moment never seems too big for him. He was leading the team on a drive late in the game last week where they needed the score if they wanted to win this game. And he broke one sack, was about to get sacked, flips it to like a tight end that's right next to him,
Yeah.
and it breaks out. It gets
Mhm.
him down at the 1 yard line. They go on to score that drive. He just makes plays happen, and he looks like the most NFL ready quarterback out of any of the quarterbacks in college football, in my opinion. He just looks like he
Yep.
has that pocket presence. He's calm. Like nothing ever looks like it's too big of a moment for him, and that's I'm sure NFL scouts are foaming at the mouth over that because it's very
Oh yeah.
impressive what he's doing right now. He can get it done with his legs too. He's a good rusher. I just think he's an all around NFL ready quarterback, and I think he's going to be great in the league. I hope that the Dolphins get him somehow. Um, Next, real quick, we're going to break down the main event for UFC 307 this weekend. It is going to be Alex Pereira versus Khalil Roundtree. I'm not going to lie, the card is kind of bad, so we're just going to give our predictions for the main event because that's really, at the end of the day, the only fight I think people are going to care about. Mason, who do you have winning between Khalil Roundtree and Alex Pereira?
Okay. So an actual prediction. I have I have Pereira winning, but I think I would love to see Roundtree win. These TikTok edits, man, they're getting to me. Seeing how this guy, all the controversy he's been through. He was saying he was very overweight, depressed, and he just, he didn't have a lot going for him. He said, and then he just got to working out and really put his mind on the path where he wanted to go. And look at him now competing for a champ like the title. So I'd love to see him win, but I don't. I think
Yeah,
Pereira is just gonna beat him off of pure experience and just dominance.
right. I'm going with Khalil Roundtree will beat Alex Pereira this fight. Um, if you look at the UFC, the last like 5 to 8 events, it's been upsets in the main events. Like it
Mm,
seems like every time the favorite is losing, and I think that that streak is going to continue because if you look at Khalil Roundtree, he's 14-5-0 with 10 KOs. He has 7 first round finishes. He has a 5 fight win streak, which are all finishes in that win streak. And look,
mm,
this is what I saw Chael Sonnen saying. Everyone was flaming him for saying this, how he's going to walk through Pereira. But if you listen to his
yeah.
points, they make a lot of sense. He pairs very well against Alex Pereira. He's a great counter striker, and he has a ton of power that everyone knows about. He does his best when he's facing a striker, which Alex Pereira is. They both have like no takedown attempts. I think Pereira has 1 and Roundtree has 0.
Yes.
So I
Yep.
think that if Roundtree just catches Pereira, he's gonna clip him and he can go for the knockout and finish him. With how the UFC has looked the past few months with all these upsets happening, I just think it continues here. And I think Khalil Roundtree is going to finish Alex Pereira. I know it's a hot take, but don't be surprised if it happens. All right. So now we're going to go into what I'm looking forward to a lot. As of actually today of recording this, MLB postseason baseball starts today. The best time of the year, in my opinion. I love postseason baseball. So we're going to go into a quick little MLB postseason preview for you guys. Um, we're going to start with giving just our predictions for the first round series that are going on. Mason, I'm going to start with you. Detroit versus Houston. Who do you have winning that series?
Detroit versus Houston. I said earlier I got Detroit winning. I just don't like Houston. As much as I think they're going to, I don't want them to. So I'm just going to put my bias fully into it and say Detroit wins.
Gotcha. All right. I'm not going to put my bias in this, and I'm going to go with the team that seems to be in the ALCS almost every year for somehow. Even when it seems like all their players are washed, they still make it in. I'm going to go with the Houston Astros. I mean, this team just has so much experience in the playoffs. They know how to win playoff baseball games. And sorry, Detroit, but it's been a while since you've been in the playoffs, and you have to go against one of the most experienced teams that's just dealt a bad hand. So I'm going to go with Houston winning that series. The next series we got in the AL is Kansas City versus Baltimore. Who do you have winning that series?
I have Baltimore winning, man. It seems like they're a complete team. They got young guys, they got experienced guys, and I from when we've played Baltimore, they always just figure out a way to win it, like whether it's the last second or just dominating throughout the whole game. So that is one of the teams that I've really been upset playing against, and I'd very much hope that we don't have to play them at all in the postseason. So, yeah, I have Orioles beating Kansas City.
Right. I think Kansas City's had a good season. I'm glad that they're back in the relevancy. Bobby Witt looks phenomenal. They have some guys over
Hmm.
there. They have a future for sure. But I think
Right.
this is Baltimore's to win. They're obviously the favorites going into this series, and I'd be shocked if they lost. That's pretty much all I got to say about that. I just think Baltimore's the better team overall. I'm not as high on Baltimore as everyone else is, though. I still think they're young, and I still think they have some learning curves to get to before they ultimately make a World Series push. But I do have them winning this first series. Now we're going to go to the better side of the MLB postseason, which is the NL side,
Oh yeah.
because if you're asking me, I think the NL is just so much more competitive this season.
Yep.
Um, if you're just a baseball fan and you're not a fan of a specific team, I highly recommend just watching every NL postseason game before watching the AL games, just because of how competitive it's going to be. It's going to be some real good competitive postseason baseball in the NL. Starting with the first series, the Milwaukee Brewers against the New York Mets, who just clinched at the time of recording this yesterday in that absolutely crazy game. Who do you have winning between the Brewers and the Mets?
I think the Mets had a great kind of feel good story. But I think we're going to see a lot of Frank the Tank videos on TikTok with Milwaukee winning over the Mets. So if
Mhm.
you are very interested in watching people go a little crazy over their team, look up Frank the Tank after this series. So
Right. Um, I'm actually gonna have to go on the opposite side as you. I think the Mets coming in off that win that they just had,
mm,
I think that's gonna kind of spark them in the right direction, and I have them beating Milwaukee. Now I am a Cubs fan, so
wow.
it would kind of pain me a lot to pick Milwaukee to win. So that might also be
Okay.
part of the reason why I'm picking the Mets. But I think the Mets overall are just the hotter team right now. I mean, Milwaukee is just always consistently good. It feels like they're not
Mm,
really flashy over there. They kind of just always play some good baseball. Um, I think the Mets are going to ride the little wave they're on right now, and I think they're going to win. That's my prediction
I
for
like
that.
it.
So yeah, the next series is going to be San Diego versus the other team that made it in yesterday, the Atlanta Braves. Who do you have winning between the Padres and the Braves?
Now, going off of that little wave you got going on, that they said that they're gonna be high off a win. I don't think the Braves are gonna beat the Padres, and I think the Padres are gonna do very well in this postseason. And it's sad to say, if they were in the AL, it would be a whole lot different um,
100%,
off of what they would be able to accomplish in the postseason. But
100%.
they're like you said, dealt a different hand, and I think they'll get through the Braves. And then it'll just kind of be play it by ear after that. But yeah,
Yep. I also have San Diego winning. I'm very high on them. I think they have one of the most complete rosters out of any team going into this playoff run. So I have them destroying the Braves. I think that's cool the Braves made it in and all, but at the end of the day, they have so many injuries they're having to deal with right now
right.
that I just cannot see them, especially with Chris Sale with those back spasms now. If they lose him, I mean, that's their best pitcher. So they're kind of screwed if that's the case. I just have the Padres winning that series. So that leads me to the next question. We're going to jump ahead a series after that. Who do you have coming out of the AL?
I have coming out of the AL the New York Yankees.
It's finally the year.
Not much else. It's the year. So we got Soto. We got to make Soto stay, and this is how it's gonna happen. We're gonna make it out.
Okay. All right. Well, so if Houston does beat Detroit, they will be playing Cleveland, and I think Cleveland will beat Houston, and they'll end up playing the Yankees because I think the Yankees will beat Baltimore if Baltimore wins. So I think the ALCS is going to be between Cleveland and the Yankees. And between that series, as much as I want to give it to Cleveland, I am going to give it to the Yankees. I think they're the better team. It's just the AL is so weak this year. It really makes me mad to see you thrive. And it's probably going to be the Yankees in the World Series. It's going
Let me
to
win
pain me to see
something,
you thrive.
man.
All right, I'll let you have this one. I think the Yankees will make it out the AL. That's all I really got to say about that. I think they're the most complete team, the best team. Now they do need to figure out some things. There's definitely some holes there that they
Yes,
need to fix
bullpen
before going in. Yeah, bullpen. They need to be more consistent on offense.
hitting.
Those
Yep.
sort of things. Yeah. I have them winning the AL though. Who do you have coming out of the NL, which is a lot more stacked and a harder question to answer? I feel
Um,
like.
it is the harder question to answer, but um, I think the Dodgers will make it out, but it'll kind of
Mm,
be a lot more roughed up than the Yankees making it out of the AL, if that makes sense.
makes sense.
Um, so I mean, I think it'll be a. It's kind of casual of me to say,
You think
just
it's going to be
kind
the
of
favorites here? You think that the favorites are going
right,
to win?
right.
And
I
that's
I
fine.
do, I do, but until I'm proven otherwise, this is kind of where I'm leaning. So
Right. That's
it'll
fine.
like everyone says in the comments, oh, Dodgers, Yankees, World Series feed families, but we'll see. We'll see how it plays out.
Right. So we're going to disagree here because I
Mm.
actually have kind of a hot take. If San Diego beats the Braves, they're going to be playing the Dodgers. And this
Oh.
is a hot take. I think that San Diego will beat the Dodgers. I'm standing
Mm.
on, I've been talking about the Padres for the past 2 weeks now. I think they're just a very complete team. I think they're incredibly hot right now. Um, you got Luis Arias, who won his third straight batting title. You got Tatis, Machado. We know their roster, good pitching.
Right.
I think that they're going to upset and beat the Dodgers. I think there's always an upset in the postseason, at least for one series a year. Last year there were so many upsets. I mean, we had a
Yes.
Rangers
Oh yeah.
Diamondbacks World Series for crying out loud. So I just think that that's going to be an upset, and I think San Diego is going to beat the Dodgers, which will set up my prediction for the National League Championship Series. I have the Padres playing the Phillies, and as much as I want to keep riding that Padres wave, I think that the Phillies will win. I think that
Wow.
they've been right there the last couple of years, and I think Bryce Harper is finally going to get them over the hump, and they're going to make it to the World Series. And yeah, I really think that the Phillies are going to get over that hump. They're right there. They have the experience. Like that fan base loves October baseball. They're one of the best atmospheres. I know you hate Philly, but they do have one of the craziest atmospheres during playoff baseball. And I just see them coming out of the NL this year due to the fact really that the Padres help them out and knock out the Dodgers. That's my take. And
I
that's my
don't
prediction. I have Philly.
I don't know what I would do if the Yankees lose a game 7 in the World Series versus the Phillies. Like,
It might happen.
and it'll be right around when we go to we're going to Giants versus Eagles later
Yep,
on
it's
in
gonna be right
October,
around
and
that
that's kind
time.
of
Yep.
around. Oh, Grant, if we lose bad to the Eagles and the Phillies, I don't know what I'd do, man. Just
It's
just
gonna be
putting
rough
that
if
out
that
there.
happens. Let's just hope for the best. All right. All right. So
Yes.
those
Yeah.
are our AL and NL predictions of who's coming out, which leads us to the World Series. Who do you think is winning the World Series in the 2024 MLB season?
Uh, you know what? I'm just gonna keep riding it. New York Yankees. Sorry for the bias. I gotta put it in there. I just gotta keep it going, man. I haven't seen. It's been a little bit since New York has won something like big, and I'm hoping that this is it. Um, it just kind of like off of what I've been seeing. Like I said, I'm just putting my bias in it. New York Yankees.
Fair enough. At the end of the day, I have my World Series being the New York Yankees versus the Philadelphia Phillies. And at the end of the day, the Yankees are going to Yankee, and the Philadelphia Phillies are going to win the World Series this year. That is my take. I think that, like I said, the Phillies have been right there the past few years, and I think they're going to get over that hump, and I think they're going to beat the Yankees because, like I said, at the end of the day, the Yankees are going to Yankee, and that's my take as far as that goes. Any complaints there? Or
No, I mean it's New York. I gotta expect it at some point.
that's fair enough. Yeah, so that pretty much wraps up the episode, guys. Got a pretty busy week coming up in sports, so
Oh yeah.
we had a lot of fun stuff to talk about this week. Thank you guys for tuning into this week's episode of the GM Sports Report, where every play counts. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to be able to see our weekly episodes on all things sports. For additional content, check the description to see links to our Instagram and TikTok account. This is Grant and Mason signing off for now. Have a great week, everybody.
Thank you.